As the year 2025 gradually winds down, focus today on Business Express is on Nigeria's trade performance, which has shown notable resilience amid global economic headwinds. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics indicate that in the third quarter alone, total merchandise trade reached 38.94 trillion naira, marking an 8.71% increase from the previous quarter. Exports stood at 22.81 trillion naira, accounting for 58.59% of total trade, while imports were valued at 16.12 trillion naira. This has contributed to a healthy trade surplus for the period, driven largely by crude oil exports amounting to 12.81 trillion naira. However, challenges persist in sectors such as agriculture, where exports dropped to 786 billion naira against imports of 1.10 trillion naira. Joining us in the studio to explore the implications for Nigeria's economy and future prospects is Mr. Aliyu Abubakar, former Director of Trade at the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment in Abuja, and now a consultant on trade and investment matters. Mr. Abubakar brings decades of experience in Nigeria's trade policy space. It's a pleasure to have you on Business Express this morning, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Let's dive right in. Looking back at 2025, Nigeria has maintained a trade surplus across these sectors, across the quarters, with exports in the first 9 months exceeding 66 trillion naira. What do you attribute this positive balance to, and how do we sustain it in light of fluctuating global oil prices?
Thank you very much. And it is a good news that we have a trade surplus. That means we are exporting more and importing less. I think that speaks to the policies and programs that government has put in place. Because in any situation whereby you export more and you have less import, that is good for the economy. So we will be looking at both our import policies and the export policies for us to know why we have surplus. Our import regime, the main policy thrust is to reduce imports and to make sure that we import less. And if I may add, for a very long time, I think since the discovery of oil, we have been importing a lot, even non-essentials. I think that is beginning to change. Nigerians are now importing less and making do with the local items or the resources that we have. That is healthy for us. In the past, we used to import even things that are not essential at all. I think that is beginning to change, and that is a good development for us. So I hope this trend and this trajectory will continue, so that instead of being merely an importing country, we will now be exporting our product and services to other parts of the world. And that will be healthy for our trade, that will be healthy for our economy, and that will be healthy for Nigerians as well. So that is my take on that.
We do look forward.
When it comes to exports, the main export, the main policy thrust on export is to boost our non-oil exports. We have a plan and a strategy known as the Zero Oil Plan, which is designed and implemented by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, an agency of government under the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, whose mandate is to promote non-oil exports. I think the implementation of that plan is largely responsible for the increase in our non-oil exports.
Now let's talk about the non-oil export. We've heard a lot about the diversification. In your assessment, have we made any real progress this year as regards to boosting our non-oil exports? And which sectors are actually pulling their weight there?
Yes, the non-oil export, the Zero Oil Plan has planned strategy, and even the sectors that we target, and even the markets that we target. So that plan and that strategy is being implemented, and that is responsible for the surge or the increase in our non-oil exports. Figures have indicated from the first, second, third quarter that there is substantial increase in our non-oil export and even earning. That is good for the country, and I hope it will contribute significantly to our Nigeria's economic growth and Nigeria's economic prosperity. We are talking about a goal to achieve a $1 trillion economy by 2030, which is about 5 years' time. The best way we can go about it is through the non-oil exports. We have several products that can be exported. We have potentials in other sectors, so the key now is harnessing that potential and turning them into reality so that we export more, and we'll be able to drive substantial benefits from the exports of non-oil.
You know, earlier you mentioned that our import bill is reducing. With government rolling out several trade policies and initiatives over the past years, from your vantage point, that is, which of these policies are actually working on ground and which ones are just, on paper?
Thank you very much. We have two main trade policy instruments. You have the fiscal policy and the monetary policy. Both of them are very important, and are complementary. So, and they are supposed to turn around the economy generally. So what we need to do, they are supposed to stimulate production and by extension trade also. And here I want to stress export, export, export. I'm always impressed by either the slogan or the saying by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. For you to grow at home, you need to sell abroad, you need to export. So if we can continue to export, 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 I think we will be able to turn the economy around and become an exporting country rather than an importing country that we had been for so long. So that is one key area. The two main policy instruments that I have talked about, they are supposed to be pro-business, pro-production, and pro-trade. So if they are healthy, they are nice, and they turn the economy around, that means we'll be able to achieve a lot. We'll be able to produce, and the more you produce, the more you have a lot of product and services in your trade basket. That is good for you, because that is a recipe for economic growth, for sustainable economic growth, and for inclusive development as well, which we all crave. So I hope those that are responsible for designing, implementing, and reviewing our fiscal and monetary policies to take into account all the challenges, all the obstacles regarding the economy, and address them so that those challenges can actually be addressed, and our companies and individuals will be able to trade more, not just domestically but also abroad, so that the economy can turn around and we achieve a long-term economic growth and development,
now,
which we all crave.
Abubakar, let's talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that Nigeria has signed up for. There was quite a bit of fanfare, but what's the reality on ground? Are Nigerian businesses actually benefiting from the AFCFTA, or is this just early days still?
Thank you very much for that good question. The AFCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, is a landmark agreement involving all African countries. I think 54, 55 of them, they are all parties to the CFTA. Nigeria has signed on, and our businesses are already participating. Let me just take you back a little bit about on the AFCFTA. It was negotiated and signed by all the African countries. Nigeria has ratified, has signed, ratified, deposited the instrument of ratification, and trading under the CFTA has commenced. And Nigerian companies are already participating. We couldn't participate in the initial phase of the implementation, but we are already participating in the second phase of what they call the guided trade initiative. Because of so many challenges and some reasons, we couldn't participate initially, but we were able to put our acts together, and we are now participating under the second phase of the GTI. Our shipments have left, and our companies are already participating in business under the CFTA. Under the CFTA, you have the implementation of the first phase of the negotiations, which is dealing with a lot of things, goods, services. You have protocol on goods, protocol on services, dispute settlements, and digital trade. So we are already on board, and the implementation has commenced. The ministry, the National Coordination Office, the Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiations, and other stakeholders are working hard to ensure that Nigeria benefits from the AFCFTA for our own good. For a long time, and it has always been, Africa has always been the cornerstone or the centerpiece of Nigerian foreign policy. And this is a time for us to take advantage of the agreements to trade more with African countries. In fact, if you look at the figures, we trade less with ourselves and more with non-Africans. But the CFTA is meant or designed to change that trajectory or that narrative. The CFTA creates a single market whereby all the African countries can trade more. So the trade volume and value will increase, and we will be able to trade more.
And that's what we look forward to, Mr. Abubakar. Let's look into the future now, drawing from your experience as a consultant now. What are your projections for Nigeria's trade in the coming year?
Well, very good. As I said, this year we achieve surplus. We hope that trend and that trajectory will continue. And the only way it can continue is if we continue with the good policies that have been designed and have been implemented. The reform agenda of the administration, particularly when it comes to the economy, is key. We need to have an enabling environment for production, for trade, and for all the stakeholders to come on board, particularly the SMEs. As you know, the small businesses are the backbone of Nigeria's economy. By the last survey, I think we have about 40 million or plus of them, and they constitute the backbone of Nigeria's economy. Their contributions when it comes to employment, GDP, wealth creation, reduction of poverty, and the rest is huge. In fact, by the time you aggregate all the employment being generated or being given by the SMEs, they are even much more than that of the public sector. So my take or my recommendation is government should give more priority to the SMEs, as well as the big businesses, make the environment as conducive and as enabling as possible so that they will be able to produce, to trade, domestically and also to trade abroad. So that is the only financial for us to have, to continue to have sustainable trade and sustainable economic growth and development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar. I do have some more questions for you, but time is not on our side. Thank you very much for coming in this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.